From the start of the match, Xianxia fell under the wind. It was out of everyone's expectations that Yao Cheng's true strength was at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, which surprised all of them. Now they all understood why the Yao family had matched up Yao Cheng against Xianxia. "Xianxia, are you only this strong? I'm very disappointed." Leng Yulan stood nearby hugging her bosom, her cold eyes filled with disappointment. At this time, Xianxia was already pushed to the edge of the stage and was going to be hit again by Yao Cheng. The Yao family's methods were very clever and even caught Xianxia off guard. The Yao family considered nearly everything, but didn't know about the invisible ring on Xianxia's finger, or the 2 peerless beauties inside it, one of which was a grand master of alchemy. This is a strong poisonous gas that has a strong attribute of paralysis, but after the refinement of your body in the Immortal and Devil pool, your meridians are extremely tough. You only need to operate the Tai Chi divine exercise, and let the Tai Chi diagram in your dantian rotate, and the poisonous gas will be refined, Su Meiyao said, operating the Tai Chi divine exercise at once. The spirit chi all around Xianxia madly rushed into his body. Surging into the meridians along with the paralysis poisonous gas, they both flowed into his dantian and was refined by the 5-element true chi inside. Yao Cheng originally wanted to seriously wound Xianxia and then toss him off the stage, but no matter what Yao Cheng did, Xianxia's eyes were filled with a deadly killing intent. Nothing close to resembling humanity could be seen in his eyes. Xianxia was already able to move. Meanwhile, without knowing this, the crowd was watching as Yao Cheng pulled out a short knife that was shrouded in a cold aura, heading straight for Xianxia's chest. "Go die!" Yao Cheng shouted. Everyone was shocked as the whole field bursted into commotion. One could hear curses being shouted one after another. Just as Yao Cheng's short knife was about to pierce his opponent's chest, Xianxia, who had not moved until now, suddenly stirred. Every single bone in Xianxia's body was ringing, emitting a crackling sound. He stretched out his left hand and grabbed the edge of the short knife between his 2 fingers. Then viciously pinched the weapon, turning it into small shards. "Bastard! First you paralyze me with underhanded poisonous gas, and now you want to kill me so desperately. You Yao family scum are ruthless." Xianxia cursed extremely angrily. Violent azure aura surged into both of his hands, filling to the brim with a lighting aura true chi, which was extremely scary. "Go die!" Xianxia shouted angrily as both of his fists shot forward like 2 violent storms, striking directly on Yao Cheng's body. In just a blink of an eye, a rain of fists containing violent lighting chi pounded Yao Cheng's body. Yao Cheng could only emit a series of pitiful screams as the Yao family members in the audiences quickly leapt towards the stage. After seeing this, Xianxia's palm suddenly transformed into a huge azure dragon claw. Azure true chi was valiantly soaring from the dragon claw and swiftly pierced through Yao Cheng's body as blood soon sprayed out like a never-ending fountain. The instant Yao Cheng was hit by the azure dragon claw, true chi easily pierced into his fragile body and left 5 gaping holes. He fell like a rag doll onto the ground but was still not dead yet. "Xianxia, stop!" A Yao family elder blasted a fist towards Xianxia, who easily sidestepped it. A sudden burst of true chi flashing with lightning aura could be seen on Xianxia's legs. Fiercely lifting his leg up, he spun like he was wielding a giant axe wrapped in azure lighting and sent a devastating chop towards Yao Cheng's waist. "Stop!" That Yao family elder roared again. But Yao Cheng had already been split in 2 by Xianxia's violent spinning kick. Yao Cheng died instantly on the stage. The sight was extremely bloody and disgusting, while everyone watching suddenly had shivers running down their spines. The whole wide field was dead silent. The only noise that could be heard was a large group of people gulping. Xianxia's action made everyone astonished. Someone had actually, right in front of the Yao family gate, in front of an Yao family elder, beheaded one of the Yao family's esteemed juniors. Not only that, but he had also done so in such a bloody and gruesome fashion. "When he was trying to kill me, why didn't you try to stop him? If he tries to kill me, what in the world made you think I wouldn't kill him? Moreover, I still followed the rules imposed." Xianxia's voice was freezing yet fully of fiery anger. If he wasn't able to disperse the poisonous gas in time, he would have been killed. Just a moment ago, Yao Chong tried to stab Xianxia with a short knife. Everybody saw this clear violation of the rules. As such, Xianxia violating the rule of no killing did not mean anything. "Do you want to fight me?" Xianxia looked coldly at that Yao family elder as slaughter chi soared out from his whole body. The Yao family elder saw the split-in-half body lying on the ground, still dripping with blood. His old face was full of anger, with a gaze that was also filled with killing intent. At this time, several other Yao family elders arrived. Ha ha ha! So funny, the Yao family brat decided to go against the rules to try and kill someone, but still couldn't do anything. Instead he was butchered, and now, you old Yao family men are looking for revenge. One extremely bold individual stood up and suddenly started laughing loudly and openly mocking the Yao family. It was extremely loud and open. The ridicule from an audience member made those Yao family elders' complexions extremely ugly. They really hated Xianxia, so they had arranged Yao Chong to fight against Xianxia. They allowed Yao Chong to take the antidote before he filled his mouth with the poisonous gas, and the Yao Chong spoke with Xianxia. This way, Xian was poisoned. But despite all this, the Yao family underestimated Xianxia's strength. Yao Chong wasn't able to seriously injure Xianxia, but Yao Chong did not want to waste this golden opportunity, so he took out a short knife and tried to stab Xianxia. In Yao Chong's opinion, the Yao family was extremely powerful in the Southern Martial Empire and would be able to easily sweep this matter under the rug. Additionally, he would have killed Xianxia. "Xianxia, we, the Yao family, will not let you off," one elder vengefully stated, his voice full of resentment. Xianxia sneered at him and said, "The dignified Yao family has actually declined to such a point. Don't worry, I will not let off your Yao family either." Xianxia walked down the tournament stage. The Yao family elder didn't dare resort to violence because if he did so, the Yao family would be ridiculed in the entire Southern Martial Empire. Although this King City martial art tournament was managed by the Yao family, they still had to follow the rules. Yao Chong had violated the rules first, so Xianxia killing Yao Chong is a matter of course, even if the rules had stated against it. The Yao family wanted to stop Xianxia from leaving. They were reluctant to give way, but they all had a really good understanding of Yao Chong's strength. If Xianxia had easily executed Yao Chong in such a way, it was certain that Xianxia was, at the very least, encroaching the 8th level of the mortal martial realm strength. "Xianxia, don't be so proud. Yao Chong's teacher will soon come and deal with you." One of the elders coldly snorted before giving way and sending orders to clean up the tournament stage. Both of the participants were thought to be at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Yet Yao Chong was so vulnerable in front of Xianxia. Beforehand, Yao Chong had madly attacked Xianxia with all his might, yet failed to cause any harm to Xianxia. It was visible to anyone that Xianxia's strength was extraordinary. He was definitely not an ordinary martial artist in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Lang Yolan's beautiful curved eyebrows slightly knitted together. Watching Xianxia's back, she nibbled on her rosy red lips. She was also in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm, but the true chi she could cast out wasn't nearly as tough as Xianxia's. In both making true chi erupt instantly or transforming it into a chi aura attack, it was extremely difficult to achieve it in such an arbitrary way. Even she could just barely do so. The grudge and hatred between Xianxia and the Yao family deepened again. Moreover, this time the other major forces were also tangled in it. This was because the relationship between them and the Yao family was very good. Now that the war between the two were inevitable, they were unsettled. This was because if the Yao family lost the battle, then the Chen family would have annexed the Yao family, firmly grasping all of their properties. Plus, the Chen family was now also one of the strongest Dan forces. If these families helped the Yao family, they would only suffer a loss. Xianxia returned to Dan King Hall. He instantly ran to practice within his private room. This time, Su Meiyao was going to teach him some underhanded methods to prevent poisoning. Otherwise, if he encountered a situation like this again, he may not be as lucky as he was today. "Little devil, you should have enraged that old man today and made him come out and fight you. Now you've allowed him to prepare, you're too tender." Bai Yu said. She was wearing a black dress, both hands hugging her chest as she leaned on the wall. Her clear as ice eyes displayed an unrestrained killing intent. Su Meiyao gently laughed and said, "Senior sister, I remember that you once said how you are very satisfied with how this brat handles things. What changed?" Bai Yu snorts, "Humph. He doesn't have enough hatred. Not decisive enough regarding killing. Sister Yu, are you not tired of always wearing the same clothes? How about I buy you some newer and prettier outfits?" Xianxia laughed and said, "In order to please both beauties." Xianxia simply resorted to the best method he knew. That was to suggest beautiful clothes as women liked this the most. Regarding this method, he has received rather good results from it. Bai Yu's elegant face turned slightly crimson, and her tone also became somewhat gentler. "For now, that is not required." Su Meiyao covered her mouth with her soft hands and started laughing. She pouted her small lips and complained, "You little brat, what kind of potion did my senior sister fed you? She has more clothes than me, and I've always been so good to you as well. Yet my things are so few, you are completely biased." Xianxia stuck his tongue out, taking a deep breath to inhale the delicate fragrance released from Su Meiyao's body. He deliberately made a bitter face and said, "If I don't do this, how else can I make Sister Bai Yu feel superior? Humph. Becoming a little more clever, are we?" Bai Yu snorts and says, "Senior sister, since you're unwilling, why not give these clothes to me?" Su Meiyao teasingly said, "You're actually asking me to give them to you? We usually share our clothes with each other." Bai Yu gave her a contemptuous look. Xianxia knew that both beauties resided all day within a small house inside the ring. No doubt, they were bored, so he often ordered a lot of beautiful clothes and got small things for them so they don't feel too down. He did all of this so that the two beauties would feel happy. Although they were once peerless experts, they had now lost all their strength and were just ordinary girls. Bai Yu and Su Meiyao both knew how to deal with colorless and odorless poisonous gases. They soon taught Xianxia what they knew. It was mainly the method of how to guard his meridians using true qi. After leaving the private room, Xianxia came to arbor in the backyard. Meng Bo and Qin Luzhong were also here, both discussing alchemy techniques. Xianxia joined in on their conversation, and all three proceeded to exchange their experiences, which benefited all of them. "Brat, today you've once again stirred up trouble. At such a young age, it's already hard to understand you. How come you have such a knack for trouble?" Qin Luzhong shook his head and laughed. Meng Bo laughed brightly, said, "This brat is truly not ordinary. Otherwise, how could I have been defeated by him? It seems like a war between your Chen family and the Yao family is inevitable." Xianxia skimmed his lips and replied, "The Yao family asked for it. I think I simply did the right thing. Young Master Chan, manager, Senior Dan King, I did not think you were all together." A tender, sweet and soft voice drifted over as Xianxia's heart jumped up. This was definitely Hua Yueyun's voice. About the matter between Xianxia and Hua Yueyun, these two old men had guessed a few things. Otherwise, how come the Dongxiang Herbal Manor was willing to sell spirit herbs to the Dan King Hall at such a cheap price? The two old men silently left on their own as Xianxia's heart turned bitter. Hua Yueyun's dress was very tight today. Her beautiful jade-like body was wrapped in a long white skirt. She looked like a fairy that enchanted people's mind with elegance. She had a unique flavor. Looking at her, Xianxia could not help but secretly praise her again and again. But at the same time he looked somewhat distressed. Seeing Xianxia looking depressed, Hua Yueyun angrily said, "I know you hate me." Xianxia hurriedly explained, "No, it's just that elder sister Yueyun, you are too tempting that it could almost be considered a crime." Hua Yueyun suddenly became happy, as she tenderly laughed and said, "Are you worried about me? Relax. As long as you enter the Danxiang Taoyuan and become an excellent alchemist, I'm yours." Xianxia shook his head and said, "No, I have already said that I want to enter the extreme martial sect." Hua Yueyun snorted softly and said, "Little sweetheart, are you thinking about other people now?" Xianxia quickly replied, I did not. Yueyun sister, you're really pretty, but as you know, I'm engaged to Xianxian. So if I want to have concubines, I need to get her approval as well. Hua Yueyun softly sighed, then stuck her tongue out towards Xianxia. Making fun of him, she said, I do not want to be your mistress. I want to be your maidservant. Right, I'm going back to the Danxiang Taoyuan today. Why don't you come with me? Hua Yueyun asked. Her face was full of anticipation. Xianxia was surprised and replied, Danxiang Taoyuan? I've already decided to go the extreme martial sect. Thanks for your consideration, but I'll have to decline. Do not be surprised, but each manor lord is called Hua Yueyun. I've managed the Danxiang herbal manor for 2 years. Now I must go back. I must tell you that my real name is not Hua Yueyun. Hua Yueyun said. Her complexion immediately became one full of disappointment, now that she had to walk away from Xianxia. I'm really sorry, but if I have the opportunity, I'll go to the Danxiang Taoyuan and find you. Xianxia sighed. Hua Yueyun said with a perfect smile, Do not worry about the Danxiang herbal manor selling herbs to the Dan King Hall. Even after I'm gone, the Danxiang herbal manor will keep cooperating with the Dan King Hall, and the prices will also not increase. Xianxia was confused about why this girl wanted to be his maidservant. Nonetheless, he was extremely grateful to her. Thank you. You do not need to be my maidservant. We're friends. In the future, I'll go to the Danxiang Taoyuan and look for you. Hua Yueyun laughed, said, You do not want me as your girl. You'll certainly regret it later. Remember, you must come to the Danxiang Taoyuan and find me. For now, I won't tell you my name. I don't want you finding me so easily after all. As soon as she finished speaking, she quickly went over to Xianxia and kissed him, then ran away laughing, leaving Xianxia petrified like a stone statue. What's the matter with this woman? Xianxia licked his lips that still had some remaining fragrance, making him feel inexplicably wonderful. Su Meiyao laughed softly and said, This little Yaojing decided to eat you. I'm still not clear how you were so fortunate. Before it was Xue Xianxian, and now this Yaojing has taken a liking to you. Xianxia snorts and said in a low voice and in a very cocky way, Humph, that's because of my charm. You will understand why in the future. These days, although Xianxia wasn't refining pills, he had been accumulating dragon saliva for growing herbs. He also started preparations for refining high-grade mortal level dawn and low-grade spirit level dawn. This was a new challenge for him, now that his strength was at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. The very next morning, Xianxia arrived at the entrance of the Yao family field. Today was the match between Leng Yulan and Song Nanming. One was the crown prince, while the other was the daughter of a great general. Both of their strength were at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. This sort of things made others very much look forward to their match. On one side, above the tournament stage, a handsome man wearing a golden huafu stood, while on the other side, a mature girl wearing black tights that sketched out her charming and hot figure. Although she was only a young girl, she was already peerless beauty and had remarkable grace. Furthermore, she had beautiful yet bizarre white hairs. Nonetheless, she was very attractive. As Xianxia watched, he fell into disbelief. In the eyes of the crown prince, Song Nanming, pure unhidden resentment could be seen. Xianxia was sure that there must be some deep grudge between the two. Have you heard? This crown prince once proposed to Leng Yulan, but she actually refused. Furthermore, the crown prince then tried to take liberties with her and was slapped as a result, a man said. I also heard that Leng Yulan kicked him in between his legs, wasting him. Later, he had to spend a large amount of spirit coins to buy an extremely good spirit herb. Laughed a middle-aged man. Ha ha ha. This is definitely going to be fun to watch. Xianxia didn't expect Leng Yulan had such courage to deal with Song naming in such a peculiar way. As the contest started, Leng Yulan once again transformed into a black shadow, treading above the stage. After all, this excellent qigong was her speciality. She was moving in hyperspeed above the tournament stage, from time to time sending a slap or a kick towards Song naming. Each time he either dodged or parried her attack. Song Nanming's strength was also quite good, but still it was a bit lacking compared to Leng Yulan's. After all, she had the fire and ice dual vein, and was able to fuse fire true qi together with ice, resulting in a powerful and strange fusion of true qi. Although Song Nanming was able to parry her attacks, the true qi had a considerable effect on him, making his body feel as if it was sometimes hot and others cold. Additionally, he wasn't able to hit Lung Yulan because she was moving too quickly. Certainly Lung Yulan doesn't just have good martial skills. She only has this qinggong for high-speed movement. Su Meiyao said. Because of her fire and ice true qi, only a few martial skills are suitable for her. As such, she can only battle this way. In the end, she doesn't get hit by any attack, not even allowing an opportunity for the opponent to touch her. This girl is fairly clever. What Xianxia cultivated was a multiple-type true qi, and was also able to direct single or multiple attributes of true qi at the same time. However, Lung Yulan couldn't. She could only use the fusion of fire and ice true qi. Only a few martial art skills utilize both qis at the same time. This was very troubling for Lung Yulan. Although her true qi was terrifying, she lacked a truly suitable martial skill to demonstrate her full power. Song Nanming was still unable to hit Lung Yulan and could not help but grow irritated. He knew that if things were to continue unchanged, he would definitely lose. At this moment, Chun Xiang saw faint flashes of light suddenly flicker above the contest stage. His eyesight was extremely good. He could even see the ant's leg on the tournament stage. What he saw was a few nearly transparent needles that were protruding from Song Naming's sleeves. Ice needles! Chun Xiang silently cursed at Song Naming. Soon, he heard Lung Yulan's cold and beautiful shout. He saw that she was suddenly covering her abdomen, staring at Song Naming with a face full of anger. Song Nanming only grinned in response and in a single step, arrived in front of Lung Yulan. Emitting true qi from his legs, he fiercely kicked Lung Yulan's covered abdomen. The violent and powerful kick struck firmly on her body. Lung Yulan screamed as she flew off the tournament stage. To everyone's surprise, she managed to steadily stop herself, but her hands covering her abdomen were soaked with blood. You despicable fellow! Lung Yulan bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with resentment and hate towards Song Nanming, who was still on the tournament stage. You are merely incompetent. Yet you dare call me despicable? Song Nanming sneered. Lung Yulan removed her palm. Her abdomen was still bleeding, but there was nothing to see. She could only feel a trace of coldness. She quickly guessed it was due to an ice needle, but it had already melted. Chun Xiang arrived beside her as he took out some herbal powder and a dispelling poison dan. Speaking in a serious tone, he said, "Be careful. Ice needles are often poisonous." Lung Yulan looked at the objects in Chun Xiang's hands and could not help but be surprised. She nibbled her lips and whispered, "Thank you. Don't worry. I'll make him pay for what he did to you." Chun Xiang slightly smiled towards her. Lung Yulan sighed and said, "My hopes for entering a martial sect is now shattered. Many thanks, young Master Chun, for giving me these dawn." Chun Xiang understood that in order to learn appropriate martial skills, Lung Yulan had to enter a sect and search, but now she had lost that opportunity. "Brat, give her the metal spirit fruit and make her go to the extreme martial sect. She has the rare ice and fire dual vein. The extreme martial sect will eagerly accept her," Su Meiyao said. Chun Xiang was surprised to hear this, while looking at Lung Yulan's slightly angry face. Tell her that if the extreme martial sect does not accept her, she could give the metal spirit fruit in exchange for an assessment. This time it was by Yuyu's voice. They were all girls and Lung Yulan is a good seedling. They would naturally want her to have good achievements in the future. Chun Xiang whispered, "Miss Lung, this poison contained within the ice needles may be serious. Could you accompany me to the Dan King Hall for further examination?" Song Nanming, who was on the tournament stage, he grounded his teeth as he watched Chun Xiang and Lung Yulan interact. Song Nanming could not hear what Chun Xiang said, but he hated the fact that the two were talking to each other. Chun Xiang and Lung Yulan acted fairly nice towards each other. One is a prestigious and talented teenager, while the other was a 7th-level mortal martial realm beauty. Mutual admiration was a normal thing to occur. Lung Yulan nodded her head and left with Chun Xiang. She was also worried about the poison in the ice needles as she could possibly die from it. On the 3rd floor of the Dan King Hall, Meng Bo's face was full of anger, declaring, "Very good, ruthless poison. This thing could remain hidden in someone's body for a very long time. The majority of this poison could even remain inside an individual for several months, possibly even after a year. Little girl, don't worry too much. Although this position is formidable, once it's found it's actually quite simple to remove." Meng Bo chuckled and pulled out a dan. "This is a high-grade mortal level dan, the cleansing core dan. It can easily detoxify this poison." When Lung Yulan found out that Song Nanming had used such deceitful and devious means to deal with her after the competition, her face was full of hatred. She looked at the dan in Meng Bo's hand and asked in a low voice, "How many spirit coins?" "Just eat it. There is no need to pay." Chun Xiang then took the dan and handed it to her. Meng Bo chuckled as he left on his own cognizance. Lung Yulan had a complex expression that could be seen in her eyes as she looked at Chun Xiang. "Why are you helping me?" Although she had brought up the matter, she guessed that Chun Xiang might have been attracted to her beautiful face. But she also knew that Chun Xiang had a fiancé, one who was currently away in one of those martial sections, a very talented and beautiful girl. Chun Xiang laughed and said, "No big reason. I just wanted to become friends." Lung Yulan swallowed the dan and then smiled towards Chun Xiang. It was similar to a peony flower blossoming. Chun Xiang could not help but stare at her. "I never thought that I would become friends with you, a genius alchemist. It's my pleasure to be friends with you." Lung Yulan's complexion became much better as she softly said, "Many thanks, young Master Chun." Chun Xiang shook his head in response and said, "Don't mention it. Here, this is a metal spirit fruit. Keep it." Although Lung Yulan was not proficient in herbs, even she had heard about the metal spirit fruit. She also knew that it was this fruit that the Dan King Hall had used to recruit alchemists, but had not expected Chun Xiang to give one to her. "Don't ask me why. Just take it and go to the extreme martial sect. If they don't let you join, give them the metal spirit fruit in exchange for an assessment. Through this method, you can enter into the sect, as I believe that you hold all the qualifications needed to pass their examination." Chun Xiang instructed. Lung Yulan was shocked. For her, it was very hard to believe that Chun Xiang would help her in such a way. "Yulan, your father, Great General Lung, was killed in battle a few years ago. It was you who has had it hard these past few years. How about we become sworn brother and sister? After I also enter the extreme martial sect, I will take care of you." Chun Xiang's heart was moved when he remembered Lung Yulan's life experience. Watching her, anyone would feel pity and compassion towards her, as they couldn't help but have such feelings. Lung Yulan also became startled. She nibbled her lips as her eyes suddenly became moist. Yet, she faced Chun Xiang, smiled and said, "Little sister greets elder brother." Chun Xiang grinned. "Yulan, you have the fire and ice veins. After you enter the martial arts sect, your future prospects are boundless. I'll help you in any way I can." Before, Lung Yulan was a little wary about Chun Xiang, but any of her suspicions and other thoughts had vanished in a puff of smoke. She now knew that, with Chun Xiang's current status, he could get any girl he wished for. It would be very idiotic of him to tarnish his reputation just because of a matter between a man and a woman. Although Chun Xiang and Lung Yulan had just recently met, they were concerned about each other, almost as if they had known each other for a long time, and today, they had met and recognized each other as equals. Chun Xiang was helping her, and essentially showering her with love. She was extremely moved, as this was the first time that someone had shown such care for her after her father's death. They had only met each other for the first time, yet she had already received so much help. Therefore, Lung Yulan was very happy to become Chun Xiang's sister. From the moment she had heard about him, she was impressed by Chun Xiang's strength, almost to the point of secretly worshipping him. "Brother, I'll always remember your kindness today. I'll be on my way. My body situation is slightly complicated at the moment. I don't want to delay any longer. Remember to teach that ruthless Song Nanming a lesson he won't forget." Lung Yulan said, as she smiled at Chun Xiang. "Yulan, hold on. Be sure to be careful on the way." Chun Xiang then passed her a small jade bottle. Inside of it were several very good pills, solidifying Lung Yulan's feelings of gratitude. Lung Yulan's father was killed 3 years ago in battle. For all these years she had been living alone. It was very difficult for her, however, trying to elevate her strength alone showed that she was a very strong girl. Lung Yulan's eyes once again moistened up. She nodded and said, "Please accept Yulan's salute." Xianxia immediately went to hug her, laughingly saying, "My dear sister, I forbid you to do such things. Be careful on your way to the martial sect. I'll become a lot stronger. Brother, you must remember to look for me." Lung Yulan wiped her tears away, as the feelings of receiving somebody's love and concern had made her feel very moved once again. "I'll certainly come." Xianxia stroked her silky white hair. "Brother, what if I don't go just yet? I know there is some hatred between you and the Yao family. Perhaps I can be of help." Lung Yulan restored her previous cold and proud demeanor, her whole body full of vigor. With her warlike intentions soaring, she resembled a Valkyrie. But watching Xianxia, her expression was soft. Xianxia shook his head, smiled and said, "No, my Qin family can easily deal with it. Your health is more important." Lung Yulan bit her lips, firmly saying, "Brother, later I'll fight side by side with you. I won't drag you down." Xianxia was very pleased with her reply. He nodded his head and asked, "You know the way?" "I know. I have been gathering information about all of the sects long ago. Although the route is somewhat dangerous, I can handle it. There is no need for you to worry," Lung Yulan said. Xianxia accompanied Lung Yulan out of the city. Here he sat down and watched, as she rode away on a horse. In the afternoon, it was Xianxia's turn to compete. But when he went to the tournament stage, he was told his competitor had abstained, which made him feel somewhat weird. After the display of Xianxia's strength, in addition to the bloody display he had made yesterday when he had killed Yao Chong, everyone was afraid of Xianxia's strength and the fear was still lingering in their minds. In the finals, Xianxia was going to be facing the Crown Prince Song Nanming. The audience was extremely looking forwards towards this match. For many people, the Crown Prince's strength was unfathomable, because of how he had defeated Lung Yulan. Additionally, he was, after all, the Crown Prince of the Southern Martial Empire. As such, he had a gigantic number of resources and could learn various powerful martial skills. But Xianxia knew that Song Nanming's strength was inferior to Lung Yulan. It was only because of his dirty tricks that he had won. Xianxia had already decided that as long as the Crown Prince used ice needles against him, he would act mercilessly. The Dan King Hall had already been opened for a few days. It was also very popular, stealing away a lot of the Yao family's business. Xianxia was concerned about the Chun family elder, Chun Furong. He hadn't taken any action yet, even though Xianxia had just killed one of the important Yao family's juniors yesterday. Taking into account Chun Furong's previous actions, he should be looking to cause trouble for the Dan King Hall. Xianxia was sure he was up to no good. He also received a message from his father that the majority of the Chen family's experts were on their way to the King City. Furthermore, they were coming secretly. Late at night, Xianxia was cultivating in a private room, when he suddenly sensed the breathing of several people at the 8th level of the mortal martial realms appearing inside the Dan King Hall. He was awakened by this and quickly left his private room, heading towards the source of the breaths. "Dad!" Xianxia was surprised as he looked at the other people present. In the group, there were 2 middle-aged men, the other 3 being rather old. Uncle Ihan, Great Uncle Hao Hai, Great Elder, Second Elder, and Third Elder. Xianxia was shocked in his heart, as he quickly saluted these elders. Excluding Chun Hao Hai, Elder Chen Ihan, the other 3 were at the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Yet now they had already entered the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. "Smelly brat, you certainly put my 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass to good use." Chen Haohai laughed merrily. He was quite sorrowful on the day that he had lost that herb. But now, when he saw that the Dan King Hall had flourished to such a degree, he felt surprised and delighted. Chan Ihan smiled. His smile was somewhat gentle while at the same time somewhat sinister, as he said, "I didn't expect that you could establish a Dan shop in such a short amount of time. Moreover, drawing in the Dan King, Our Chun family will certainly be able to become one of the strongest families in the Southern Martial Empire. The other 3 elders also praised him abundantly. One bald old man said, "The Yao family was greatly resisting and blocking our Chun family's entry into King City. Among them was Chun Farong. Great Elder is correct. Fortunately for us, we made contact with an ancestor of our Chun family. He helped us break through to the 8th level of the mortal martial realm using spirit level dawn. He cannot meddle in secular worldly matters, so he let us clean out the house and handle Chun Farong." The second elder made a killing gesture. Xianxia frowned, asking, "How strong is Chun Farong? How many Chun family members have come?" Chan Tianhu answered, "We brought 300 elite disciples, who are all above the 4th level of the mortal martial realm, while we few old men also came to help." Chun Tianhua was also at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, and now there are 6 Chun family martial artists who were at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Counting in Chunxiang, that number was raised to 7. According to the structures of power in the Southern Martial Empire, their strength was quite astonishing. Chun Farong is estimated to be at the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. Thus, 6 of us together may just barely be able to balance it out. The great elder said with a somewhat serious expression. Chunxiang smiled slightly. "If our Chun family and the Yao family go to war, you just have to handle the Yao family. Leave Chun Farong to me." Chun Tianhu suddenly stood there blankly, as the jaws of the 3 elders were almost touching the ground. "My dear son, have you entered the 9th level of mortal martial realm?" Chun Tianhu asked. He was astonished, and it was clearly visible on his face. Chunxiang slightly pursed his lips, saying, "I'm just at the 8th level of mortal martial realm, but I think I'll be able to hold Chun Farong for quite a while. That way, you elders, with your overwhelming strength, will be able to completely decimate the Yao family." Chun Tianhu let loose a long breath. If Chunxiang had entered into the 9th level of the mortal martial realm at his age, then he himself, as well as the other old men, should just go die in a hand full of water. Thankfully, Chunxiang had only entered into the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, which still gave them a big surprise. They also knew that his strength couldn't be defined by common norms. After all, when Chunxiang was merely in the 5th level of the mortal martial realm, he was already able to defeat Chen Yihan, who was in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Remembering this fact, the Chun family experts all shuddered. Chun Tianhu and the others soon left. They still had to secretly lead the 300 elites to the Yao family's tournament field tomorrow. Meanwhile, Chunxiang was still adjusting himself to get to his most optimum state, so that he was prepared to cope with various situations that could occur tomorrow. The weather was sunny in the mornings. As usual, King City was very lively. Many people learned that there was only the final round left of the King City martial art tournament. However, even after that, there was one more hurdle to pass. One of the martial art sect's disciple was also going to compete. Only after winning against that disciple could someone be considered the victor of the entire tournament. Hearing this new piece of information, Chunxiang secretly cursed in his heart. He guessed that it must have been because of Chun Farong. He must have disappeared from King City to recruit someone for this specific purpose, just so that Chunxiang could not be considered the true winner of the King City martial art tournament. Rest assured, it is impossible for an inner disciple to participate. They don't have that much spare time. If I have to guess, it will probably be a relatively strong outer sect disciple. Most likely it will be someone around the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Su Meiyao said. She and Bai Yuyu were very clear about the inner proceedings of sects. That's good. I hope that they are not too disappointing. Chunxiang's fighting spirit soared in his heart. At the Yao family's main entrance, tens of thousands of people had already gathered. This was the finals of the tournament. Besides, it was the competition between 2 young juniors, both of which very prestigious and strong young men. Among the crowd, Chun Tianhu, Chun Yihan, Chun Haohai and others had already hidden themselves. They each commanded 50 Chun family elite juniors. As soon as there was any sign of trouble, they were ready to take action. As Chunxiang came over to the middle of the tournament stage, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. Surprisingly, he actually dared to come. I heard that the Yao family will take him away right after he wins the finals. One man said with a surprise. It is said that he has something to do with the disappearance of the Yao family elder and their young genius. The Yao family will probably pin that crime on him as an excuse to deal with him. Another middle-aged man said. He already has so much courage at such young age. 2 days before, he faced the Yao family elders after massacring Yao Chong. Xianxia's strength is also good, and he also dares to fearlessly threaten others regardless of their background. One teenager said full of envy. Of course, in this world, strength has always have been revered. As long you have strength, you can have everything. Listening to the arguments and conversations from the audience, Xianxia knew that the Yao family had deliberately released some information. This gave off the message that they were prepared to deal with the Chen family, which also signified the start of the war between the two families. This was a very common method. Other forces would often release such information to warn and threaten their opponents. Not far away from the tournament stage, there was a tower. On the top of that tower, there were many luxuriously dressed people residing in a room. Many maids and guards were present around them. From this alone, one could tell that their status was definitely out of the ordinary. The Southern Martial Empire's emperor is also watching the finals. I heard he is here to boost the morale of his son, and that he has also bought many Imperial Palace experts. In fact, even all of the Imperial concubines have come here to watch the finals. Xianxia's eyesight was very formidable. Among the people seated in the tower, he could see a person wearing the dragon robe. He had a majestic expression. That middle-aged man with the extraordinary bearing was no doubt the emperor of the Southern Martial Empire. For the common populace, the imperial power was way above them. But for the powerful families, they were simply not worth mentioning. In the eyes of those families, the emperor was just someone who manages the empire so that it can develop in an orderly fashion. There was not any kind of disarray among the populace, so these families could smoothly gain benefits from the common masses. The crown prince arrived as he flew from that distant tower. He was wearing a fiery red and magnificent dress, displaying the elegant qinggong skill he had. Softly, he landed on the tournament stage. His arrival alone caused many girls present to scream out. Xianxia was secretly belittling him in his heart, thinking, "Look at you, seeming so imposing. Just wait. I will beat you so hard that even your father, the emperor, will not recognize you afterwards." Song Nanming looked at Xianxia with disdain in his eyes, and calmly said, "If you want to relieve yourself from physical suffering, there is still some time." Song Nanming knew how strong Xianxia was, but Song Nanming was also very confident about his victory. Xianxia, looking at that arrogant and sinister face of Song Nanming, guessed that he definitely had another despicable trick up his sleeve. This time, Xianxia was cautious and ready, otherwise he would be on the back foot again. "Rest assured, I'm very thick-skinned. I'm afraid your hand will hurt if you hit me." Xianxia replied. It sounded sarcastic, but what he said was the truth. "Humph! You don't know the immensity of the heavens." Song Nanming coldly snorted. He intentionally raised his voice, making it so that everyone on the whole field could hear it. Seeing Song Nanming putting on a high and mighty act, Xianxia secretly smiled in his heart. If you don't have necessary strength, everything said and done was all completely useless. Start. If someone violates the rules, you can already figure out the consequences. One old man wearing a gray robe shouted. He was not a member of the Yao family but rather one of oldest martial artists. It is said that he was the descendant of the founder of the martial art tournament. Song Nanming had already violated the rules before, but there was no evidence, so Xianxia could not do anything or point it out. At the start, Song Nanming faced the audience as he took off his golden red dress. Inside, he was wearing golden tights and golden boots. It looked as if a wealthy nobleman had appeared on stage. Today, I'll show you a bit of the martial skills from our Southern Martial Empire's imperial family. I'll let you experience the formidability of the dragon martial technique, shouted Song Nanming. An unusual fierce breath emanated from his body. It was similar to Xianxia's azure dragon true qi, but was lacking in its ancient and majestic imposing aura. Dragon martial technique. This was one of the ancient martial techniques. Legend had it, the technique was handed down by someone who later transformed into a divine dragon. After casting it, one would gain the same imposing manner and power as a real dragon. That said legend was certainly formidable, however. To be as formidable as dragon was very hard to believe. Watching the visible golden essence flowing in the blue veins of Song Nanming's fists, everyone could not help but gasp. They had not expected that they would be able to witness the mystical dragon martial technique in their lifetime. Xianxia narrowed his eyes, released his powerful and invisible divine sense. He enveloped Song Nanming's whole body, and could clearly see Song Nanming's internal organs, and was also able to observe how his true qi was circulating. Simultaneously, Xianxia secretly stored the whole process in his mind, and then also made his true qi flow in accordance with the previous method. I did not expect the dragon martial technique to appear in this secular world. Make sure to remember every bit of it. Su Meiyao transmitted this order to Xianxia. Xianxia had already learned the entire technique. At this time, Song Nanming, because of the profound method of circulating his qi, had made all of his internal true qi change in order to produce a stronger and more powerful force. Dragon Aura Fist. Song Nanming fiercely leapt into the air, as if a golden aura was shot towards Xianxia. Song Nanming's fists quickly transformed, which had an uncanny resemblance to the eagle claws. Constantly rumbling, one after another, golden qi aura flew towards Xianxia, sending shock waves in the air as they flew past, followed by bursts of sonic booms one after another, as they violently struck on Xianxia's chest. After the golden qi aura struck Xianxia's chest, Song Nanming soon appeared in front of Xianxia. Both of their fists flew towards each other. As the two moved, only explosions followed them. Fist met fist at an extremely fast pace. From afar, it appeared as if both of them had thousands of arms. In the mere blink of an eye, a few hundred punches had already been exchanged, each filled with true qi, resulting in numerous explosions. Song Nanming threw out qi aura with each fist, and also produced a qi explosion. As such, the huge tournament stage started shaking, while the frightening sonic booms made more and more people shudder. But what made everyone dumbfounded was not the fact that Song Nanming had casted the dragon martial technique, but rather the fact that Xianxia's fists had met evenly with Song Nanming's blows. Furthermore, the speed of Xianxia's fists were exactly the same as Song Nanming's punches. Additionally, all of this was done with a relaxed expression on Xianxia's face. The crowd was unable to clearly see the quick blows from Song Nanming. Each of them was covered in a very powerful qi aura, but Xianxia was able to keep up his opponent's speed. In fact, it seemed as if he was precisely judging the end location of each blow, and then accurately retaliated with his own. Xianxia was using the Azure Dragon True Qi. Violent lightning was flashing in between the two figures, rumbling as they moved from place to place. With each counter blow, a roar could be heard, each producing its own qi aura storm. This was far more imposing and stronger than the so-called Dragon Aura Fist from Song Nanming. The sight above the tournament stage was a dazzling sight to behold. It was as if two people were responsible for a giant parade of fireworks. Except, instead of countless sparks, they were deadly explosions caused from the two's fists colliding against each other. It was Song Nanming who had first initiated the fight, but now he was gradually retreating, yet somehow he remained dignified. Both of his fists were now numb. He could sense Xianxia's vigorous true qi from each counterattack. But it was more than that. Song Nanming had also thought that he would be able to quickly defeat Xianxia by casting the Dragon Aura Fist. So Song Nanming had desperately consumed a vast amount of true qi for the martial skill, yet it just ended up being easily repulsed by Xianxia. This lost ancient martial skill is not something the likes of you can use. You are simply unworthy of the dragon martial technique. Xianxia suddenly sneered as his blows became even more fierce. Suddenly he retreated a few steps as golden qi started to emanate from his whole body. On both of his fists, golden true qi was flowing inside his meridians, similar to what happened when Song Nanming used the dragon martial technique. But compared to the previous scene, this one seemed much more formidable. The golden aura valiantly surged, reflecting even in Xianxia's eyes. His hands looked like they were covered in solid gold, vaguely giving off the illusion that they had turned into vigorous and powerful eagle claws. In fact, golden scales started appearing one by one, piece by piece. Their aura valiantly surged, combining and fusing with the slaughter chi which made it capable of shaking people's very soul. The dragon martial technique was suitable for someone who used the metal-attributed true chi. Xianxia's metal-attributed true chi corresponded to the white tiger, as his metal-attributed true chi carried killing intent when he casted the dragon martial technique. His imposing manner not only combined with his threatening slaughter chi, but rather multiplied its strength. His imposing aura was not only that of slaughter and fear, but also the aura of someone who disdained the entire world. Arrogant, conceited, ignoring all world powers and influences, he stood there alone. In that distant tower, the emperor fiercely rose up from his throne. His eyes were wide open and a clear look of astonishment could be seen in them. Looking at Xianxia, the emperor muttered, "Impossible, impossible. Only we of the imperial family posses the dragon martial technique. How in the world would a brat like him learn it?" Suddenly, pure raw murderous intent appeared on the emperor's face. "Inside the entire southern martial empire, we must never allow others to grasp the dragon martial technique. Only we of the imperial family can be considered the true descendants of the dragon race." Xianxia had never thought the dragon martial technique was profound or hard to master. After all, he simply followed and recreated the exact same things he saw in Song Nanming when he had operated his true chi for this technique. Albeit it was a little bit complicated, but Xianxia had an extremely powerful and keen divine sense. He easily perfectly memorized it and branded it onto his mind. Now that he had finally cast his new skill, an amazingly powerful aura was emitted throughout his entire body. You, how could you? Where in the world did you learn this? Only those of us who have the dragon blood inheritance are able to learn it. A mere mortal like you. His words weren't even completely finished before Xianxia took a step, which erupted into a loud explosion. In fact, even the tournament stage that had been made of thick wood was suddenly crushed, completely collapsing under the tyrannical might of this single step. Smoke and dust scattered in all directions, shocking the hell out of everybody watching. This level of frightening power caused everyone close to the stage to retreat. They feared their lives would be in danger if they stayed too close. Although it consumes a lot of true chi, its power is equally great. Indeed, it is truly worthy of the title of a lost ancient martial skill. Xianxia could not help but marvel at the strength he now possessed. He had not expected to learn this mighty martial skill. Xianxia had gotten a very large harvest. Song Nanming was shocked by this. But there was also hate and envy at how Xianxia could display the very same dragon martial technique, yet at such a more profound and powerful level. It also gave Song Nanming insight into the technique's frightening depths, yet he simply could not reach the same level of force as Xianxia. "Xianxia, do not blame me. Blame yourself for showing off your ability." Song Nanming's eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of a ferocious and ruthless aura. He fiercely waved his hand as 10 very fine, and small needles penetrated the dense smoke of dust, flying straight towards Xianxia. Although smoke was flying around everywhere, Xianxia's divine sense was still extremely formidable. He was able to completely grasp all the movement of objects around him, including those tiny needles that were currently flying straight at him. As the needles flew towards Xianxia, he shouted as a sudden wall of fire appeared in front of him. This was alchemical true chi fire, which was capable of refining even the most heat-resistant materials that were harder than iron. Those tiny needles never stood a chance. Those needles instantly melted when they struck that wall of fire. The firewall also soon vanished, shortly after the smoke started to disperse as well. With that powerful and mighty dragon chi aura surging in both his fists, Xianxia walked step by step towards Song Nanming. "Dragon aura fist," Xianxia coldly shouted. Both of his fists crazily smashed towards his opponent. It was as if thousands of golden meteors were raining down on Song Nanming. Song Nanming was still in daze due to the fact that Xianxia could evade even those tiny hidden needles. Song Nanming didn't even see it coming when those dragon aura fists rained down him. In just the blink of an eye, his whole body had been struck hundreds of times by those hard golden fists. The sound of impact on his flesh was like a thunderbolt capable of shaking the heavens, yet also resembled fierce firecrackers that were successively bursting one after another. Song Nanming's whole body was attacked so fiercely and madly that every piece of his flesh, bones, and even meridians had ruptured and broken. His entire body looked like it had been squeezed together into paste. He lay there on the ground like a large piece of meat pie, somehow still alive. Technically, since he did not die, this brutal beating was not counted as a violation of the rules. However, Song Nanming could be considered to be among the living dead. From where does he resemble anything like human? There only remained a putty of rotten meat. Everyone in the field vomited. Some people were even more frightened and were also shrieking while they were vomiting. That thing did not resemble the previous arrogant, handsome, and terrifying crown prince even the slightest bit. You asked for it. Xianxia thought that he was in the right and simply taught a very simple lesson to the arrogant crown prince. Originally, he simply wanted to defeat Song Nanming, but when he had attacked with those vicious needles, Xianxia erupted with fury and was unable to hold back his power as he exploded with 80% of his full strength. Nanming! A roar came from the far-off distance, yet it still shook the ears of the audience in the wide field. A very angry middle-aged man wearing long pow suddenly appeared at the side of Song Nanming, whose very condition of whether he was still alive or not was very hard to determine. This was the Southern Martial Empire's emperor, Song Wu. Everyone present on the wide field were still in a daze from the previous incident. Xianxia had crippled the emperor's son. An emperor is in no way weak. Maybe a big battle would erupt soon. Take the crown prince back to the imperial palace. Song Wu shouted at the two people behind him. They were the imperial palace experts, who had arrived right after Song Wu. They had previously come along with him to watch the tournament. Moreover, they were also very strong. Xianxia didn't violate any sort of rules, and as Song Nanming's father, he was also very well aware of the petty means Song Nanming used in the tournament. The emperor guessed that Xianxia must have found out and was annoyed. In order to prevent everyone here from discovering the petty tricks of Crown Prince, the emperor made the others to take Song Nanming back to Imperial Palace, rather than sending him to the Yao family. The emperor's reputation was more important than anything else. If the general population came to learn about how the Crown Prince resorted to deceitful tricks, then the days of ruling over the Southern Martial Empire would soon come to an end. Furthermore, if this sort of thing was found out by the Yao family, then they would use it as blackmail and threaten the emperor into doing things he did not want to do. Xianxia soon saw through the hidden reason in Song Wu's act. Xianxia simply smiled and said, "Indeed you are the monarch of a country. That decision you just made, to not keep your son in the Yao family, was brilliant. Soon you will realize that the action you just took gave you a big benefit and also saved you from a larger predicament." Song Wu coldly snorted. It is normal to get injured while participating in the martial art tournament, but you were too heavy-handed. You better hope the Crown Prince is all right otherwise. After saying his threat, Song Wu quickly sped away. The emperor had not taken into account that Xianxia was responsible for this incident. Everyone let out a deep breath. At the same time, they admired Song Wu's mind. Xianxia walked towards the old man who was presiding over the tournament and asked, "I am the winner of this tournament. Now may I receive the rewards?" There was a perfectly visible expression of helplessness on the old man's face. He said, "I'm just presiding over the tournament. The reward is not distributed by me. The true elemental Dan is given out by the sections. You will get it once you pass through their assessment." A sliver of a smile flashed on Xianxia's face. Although it seemed very charming, that old man felt unbased fear and could not help but shudder. It seemed that just a moment earlier, an overwhelming slaughter chi had secretly burrowed deep into his body and soul, making him feel like death was nigh. Actually, just a moment ago, Xianxia was extremely angry and had inadvertently released frightening amount of slaughter chi. From the very start of this tournament to its current end, he knew that it was manipulated by others. Even the final winner would find it very difficult to get that true elemental Dan. Chen Furong arrived, although he was one of the Qin family seniors, due to wanting to curry favor with the Yao family members in the martial sect. He wanted to prevent the development of his own family, even resorted into attacking his own family patriarch. Previously, when Chen Furong wounded Chen Tianhu, the entire Qin family, whether their position was high or low, no longer accepted Chen Furong as one of their own. Chen Furong was followed by a beautiful, delicate, and fair-skinned man. He looked very elegant and bewitching, his whole body excluding a very pure true qi. From this alone, one could tell that this martial artist's true qi was astonishingly vibrant and pure. Xianxia, I did not think you would successfully open the Dan King Hall. Moreover, you also harmed my new apprentice. Yao Chang's master was actually Chen Furong. Shut up, you traitor of the family. You are not part of our Chen family. What I want to do is my own business and none of yours. Why would my Dan shop have to get an old dog's approval? Who do you think you are? You're just an old dog who has a speciality in licking other people's shoes. Xianxia loudly shouted, his voice vibrating throughout the whole field. Every single one of the hidden Qin family members heard it, and their hearts relaxed. You fucking brat. You seek death. Chen Furong had a very red face due to his anger, and wanted nothing more than to personally come out and fight Xianxia. But before he could do anything, he was stopped by the man behind him. Let me and this Southern Martial Empire's strongest teenager exchange blows. I would like to see with what ability he want to take away the true elemental Dan. That man coldly said. His complexion was filled with disdain, making one feel as if he thought he was the strongest in the entire world. Xianxia replied back with a curt and cold tone. You both are part of sects and belong to their world. You are to only participate in those matters, yet you violate your sect rules and regulations, especially this old fart. If you win, this true elemental Dan is yours. If you lose, you have to die. The man coldly said. Why would I have to die if I lose? Xianxia sneered. Because no one has ever lived after a martial art contest against me. Zhang Long said with a proud look. Xianxia burst into laughter, as if he had just heard the world's most funniest joke. Aren't you just at 8th level of mortal martial realm? In the eyes of those inner sect disciples, you're similar to dog feces. Do not think that after coming out of the sect's world, you would be my king. Do not attempt to abuse your power here. After all, from the looks of it, you do not even have enough capability to do so. Zhang Long was furious as cold qi started to rise and emanate throughout his whole body. His eyes were filled to the brim with murderous intentions. You're definitely going to die today. Xianxia did not know how Chen Furong found such an opinionated guy. It seemed that, in his eyes, people who were not in a sect were just ants. At this time, the crowd had all retreated. A battle with an expert in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm would have a very large backlash, but at the same time they were also very excited about the upcoming match. This was because, if what they heard is true, then to get the rewards Xianxia had to defeat the martial arts sect's disciple. Just viewing their battle could be considered very fortunate. After all, this was a martial arts sect's disciple. No doubt, this match would give many benefits to the observing martial artists. The ground was covered with splinters of wood, which was all due to Xianxia's previous stomp that had destroyed the entire tournament stage. Chen Furong retreated back. He was very confident in Zhang Long. Chen Furong thought that Xianxia would definitely die this time, and then the Chen family would be completely annexed by the Yao family. This would lead to his relations with that Yao family member in the martial arts sect to become much better. It looks like you're older than me. Do you think winning against me right now could be considered glorious? I'm only 16 years old. Xianxia said with a smile, but this expression seemed like he was smiling yet not, creating a considerable paradox. If he hadn't spoke, everyone here really would have forgotten about his age. Thinking about this, everyone sighed in their hearts. Only at 16 years of age, he already had such accomplishments. This was definitely one very prestigious and powerful teenager. Fine, I'll allow you to have one move. I will stand here unmoving, but after that I'll act with no mercy. Zhonglong had just arrived and Chen Furong had told him that Xianxia was only in the 7th level of the mortal martial realm. Because Zhonglong was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, he was very disdainful of the fact that the other party was an alchemist and most certainly not focused on the martial path, so of course he is quite weak. In the regular world, anyone in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm was already considered to be one of the top martial artists. But the disciples from the martial arts sects could also absorb richer spirit qi, as well as eat spirit-grade food and dan. Their true qi exercises were also very good. With all of these factors combined, the people in the regular world could not hope to match the sect's level of martial skill. You'll let me have a single move? Chen Xiang's voice was emotionless, but he was secretly delighted in his heart. An 8th level of the mortal martial realm expert was about to be struck by his fist with no retaliation. Not to mention Zhonglong, even if it was someone in 9th level of mortal martial realm would definitely not feel fine afterwards. Zhonglong sneered and said, "You must have to squeeze out all your power in this one attack, because it'll be the last one of your life. Afterwards, you are dead. I'm going to attack." Chen Xiang retreated a few steps. Inside his heart he was secretly very pleased. He did not think that there would be such an arrogant idiot in this world. Zhonglong smiled disdainfully. His whole body shook a bit as a pure white mist was emitted from his body, subsequently transforming into a strong qi aura. It formed a qi cover that enveloped his whole body. The whole crowd could feel the qi aura shield and even see how sturdy it is. This was because when the qi shield was formed, the broken pieces of wood bordering it had instantaneously turned into powder. You sure enough have some means, but it's merely at this level. You have let me down, Chen Xiang thought in his heart, while operating the Tai Chi divine exercise and mobilizing the 5 elements of true Qi in his body. Last time, when he was in 5th level of mortal martial realm, he defeated Chen Yihan using the very same 5 elements true Qi, fusing and transforming them into the universal force. This was a chaotic ancient force that has existed since the beginning of time. It was the power that formed heaven and earth. Its true might was unfathomable. However, Chen Xiang's universal force was only in embryonic stages. Yet it was still extremely terrifying. The last time he casted it, his entire body went through unbearable pain, but now it was a completely different matter. He was now in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Moreover, his body had gone through refinement in the immortal and devil pool, slowly transforming his body into an immortal and devil body. Now, his body was entirely capable of withstanding this ancient universal force. This could be said to be his ace in the hole, his strongest card which he rarely used. When he saw that the opposing party in front of him was an idiot who wanted to die, he would certainly not refuse and definitely comply with the other party's wishes. When his opponent died, he would let them know and feel with their body what was called people beyond people, skies beyond skies. Seeing Chen Xiang come towards him, moreover, not even releasing any type of breath fluctuations, Zhonglong pursed his lips and showed a contemptuous sneer. Chen Xiang's speed was not fast. After all, he was going to attack a standing target. But upon his fist was the universal force from the fusion of 5 elements true Qis. Heavenly Tiger Storm Killing Fist. Chen Xiang arrived in front of Zhonglong. Chen Xiang's fists rumbled as they moved. Suddenly, above his 2 fists, a translucent tiger head appeared. The tiger head opened its big jaws and directly penetrated Zhonglong's proud Qi aura shield, striking unhindered on his chest. The Qi shield was broken in an instant. Both Chen Furong and Zhonglong were fiercely startled in their hearts. But before either of them could react, the fist had already arrived in front of Zhonglong. Chen Xiang's fist, which contained that mysterious power, struck flatly on Zhonglong's chest. As the fist landed on Zhonglong's chest, he felt an endless amount of power madly gushing into his body and decimating every inch of his body as quickly as possible. In that very moment, he felt various kinds of pain exploding throughout his body, and then lost his consciousness, lost forever from this world. The entire crowd was petrified like statues, but they also could not help but continuously replay the scene from just a moment ago in their minds. Chen Xiang blasted his fist, penetrating that formidable qi shield, as it struck unhindered on Zhonglong's chest. Instantly, a blood mist burst out from where his body used to be, exploding from within. It was like his body was a tomato that had just been ruthlessly squashed on the ground, flattened into a red mush. Just one fist from Xianxia and Zhonglong, who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, became meat putty. That blood mist was still floating within the wide field, drifting with the wind, intermittently exuding a fishy smell. This caused a feeling of nausea to rise within everyone's throat. The crowd watching were shocked to their very core. This scene had forever etched itself into their minds. Xianxia looked indifferent. Humph, he snorted in low voice, waving his hand and releasing his true qi fire, burning that meat putty on the ground. Afterwards, he picked up Zhonglong's storage pouch and threw it into his. I defeated the sect disciple. Now give me the true elemental Dan. Xianxia looked coldly at Chen Furong. Although he had killed Zhonglong, Xianxia knew in his heart that he would not be punished. In his opinion, such a proud, arrogant, and supercilious guy would never be acknowledged by any of the martial arts sects. Not to mention the fact that Zhonglong had violated their rules and abused his powers in the regular world. Chen Furong's white eyebrows were madly twitching, with bloodshot eyes. He looked grim and terrifying. He was furious. He had not expected Xianxia to be so strong. Only one punch and Zhonglong had exploded from within. Even for Chen Furong, this feat would be very difficult to achieve. I cannot give it to you, Chen Furong yelled. Why? Xianxia coldly and forcefully asked. It is because you killed Yao Tianhua and also a Yao family elder. Due to killing members from the martial art tournament managing family, you cannot be rewarded. Chen Furong loudly shouted, sending the audience into an uproar. Previously, they had not thought Yao Tianhua was killed by Xianxia. Yet now, everyone did not doubt a single bit of it, because Xianxia's strength explained everything. You have no evidence. Do not speak irresponsibly, Xianxia indifferently said. Considering just the relationship between him and the Yao family, even if nothing had been revealed, the Chen and Yao family would still go to war. It was just a matter of time. Chen Furong sneered. By using an ancient secret method, we have collected Yao Tianhua's residual spirit. He told us himself. Do you want to hear? After speaking, Chen Furong showed a palm-sized yellow paper with various patterns on it. Upon seeing it, Xianxia was very surprised because he knew this was a talisman. It was a very rare, mystical, and frightening thing. Only a few people knew how to make such a thing. Talisman experts, he had often heard Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu mentioning them. Even those two mysterious beauties constantly longed for this vocation. Chen Furong read a spell and poured his true qi into the talisman. Immediately after, the pattern above the talisman suddenly lit up, and everyone heard a very terrifying voice. Xianxia killed us. Xianxia killed us. The voice sounded like it originated from hell, extremely terrifying and full of resentment. Hearing it, everyone felt a cold shiver running down their spines. What do you have to say now? Chen Furong coldly said. He finally revealed his trump card, which can intensify the conflict between the Chen and Yao family, urging the two families into a full-scale war. As long as he helped the Yao family eliminate the Chen family, then the Yao family would no doubt be very grateful to him. With such irrefutable evidence confirming Xianxia killed Yao Tianhua, everyone was very shocked. Originally, a few people were still uncertain, but now that uncertainty had vanished in puff of smoke. Correct. I killed Yao Tianhua and that Yao family elder, Xianxia calmly said. Everyone admired the fact that he can be so calm even at this moment. The Yao family will fight with the Chen family until one of us has been exterminated. A middle-aged man with a striking resemblance to Yao Tianhua jumped out and yelled. This was the Yao family patriarch, Yao Hong. They were the ones who first tried to kill me. They even sent assassins. On that day, we of the Chen family hosted a banquet and invited many major families. You, Yao family, wanted to create trouble and sent various assassins to kill the other family's children. Through this method, you wanted the other families to become hostile to our Chen family. Xianxia gloomily said. Although he had no conclusive evidence, Every single word he said was the truth. Slanderous accusations. We, the Yao family, would never do such a thing, Yao Hong shouted. He knew that Xianxia didn't have any evidence. The Yao family's assassins worked very discreetly and made sure to cover up their tracks. Xianxia smiled coldly before his body suddenly disappeared and reappeared in front of an old man. This old man was one of the Yao family elders. Although this elder could feel somebody coming near him, he failed to act in time. Xianxia's actions were far faster. With a single move he scattered his opponent's true qi. "Do not come near me or I'll kill him," Xianxia said. His palm struck the head of that Yao family elder and stunned him. The Yao family elders were the source of the Yao family's strength, so the Yao family members did not dare act rashly. "Xianxia, you are definitely dead today. If you surrender yourself, I'll make sure to leave your corpse intact," Chen Furong threatened. However, he could not act, otherwise Xianxia may very well kill the Yao family elder and then Chen Furong would be held responsible for it. Everyone thought that Xianxia grabbed the Yao family elder as a hostage, but it was far from the truth. He just wanted to use Bai Yuyu's strange martial skill on the Yao family elder, which could control the consciousness of the other party and make them speak the truth. Xianxia poured his divine sense into the Yao family elder's head and operated the qi according to that peculiar exercise. The Yao family elder then fell into a sluggish state. "I ask you, was it your Yao family who had sent assassins to kill the major family's children?" Xianxia asked. "Yes," that Yao family elder replied. Hearing the answer, Yao Hong's complexion suddenly became very ugly as the entire field burst into clamor. Before, when they heard Xianxia, they didn't believe a single bit of it. But now, when a Yao family elder admitted to the fact, it was very hard not to believe. "Why?" Xianxia continued with his interrogation. Because the Chen family forces were slowly but steadily growing. Once the Chen family stepped into the Dan business, it would threaten our Yao family. So we took the advantage of major families participating in the Chen family banquet and tried to kill those families' children, making them hostile towards the Chen family. By doing this, it will be beneficial to our Yao family, that Yao family elder replied. Xianxia sneered and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Yao family has done many despicable things. Our Chen family, in order for the general population to get low-costing dawn, founded the Dan King Hall. Yet the Yao family vigorously tried to stop us from opening Dan King Hall. Their purpose is evidently clear and very simple. They want to continue gaining everybody's hard-earned spirit coins, making sure you select their Yao family's high-priced Dan shop." Yao Hong was furious. He shouted, "Xianxia, in the end, what strange demonic technique did you use to control our Yao family elder? Xianxia, you killed our Yao family's peerless genius and now you even want to slander our Yao family. We, the Yao family, must eradicate your Chen family." Xianxia coldly laughed and replied, "Yao Tianhua a peerless genius? Is that why he lost to me? Also, I acted all alone. Why must you pull in my Chen family? It seems that your Yao family is really worried about our Chen family affecting your Dan business." At this time, every single person in the crowd had already cursed the Yao family multiple times. When the Dan King Hall had just been opened, it was immediately trashed before it could even do business. A lot of people knew about this, and now listening to Xianxia say it, they felt what the Yao family did was truly very insidious. "Xianxia, release him. You're a martial artist, so let us fight it out fair and square." Chen Furong had a new outlook on Xianxia's strength. Even one of the Yao family elders was unable to resist one of Xianxia's moves, and was instantly held hostage. Xianxia coldly said, "Chen Furong, you're no longer a Chen family member. You were already expelled from our Chen family. You're just a traitor to the Chen family, and according to our rules, any traitor must die." After he finished speaking, Xianxia's palm struck the Yao family elder's head, which was like chipping a watermelon. It instantly got torn apart and the gray matter of his brain splashed in all directions. Watching this scene, everyone was stunned. Committing such an action was nothing short of a declaration of war from Xianxia to the Yao family. "Humph. Anyway, I've already killed 2 of the Yao family members. Scrapping one more is nothing," Xianxia calmly stated. The Yao family was very strong. Yet Xianxia was now standing alone in front of the Yao family. With how Xianxia was acting, he was simply seeking death. As expected, Yao Hong roared, "Surround him. I want him hacked into pieces." Xianxia, this is what you asked for. Chun Furong knew that he had committed a grave crime and was damned as a traitor, but he was not afraid of it. He believed in the regular world, only a few people in the Chen family could overpower him. Xianxia was suddenly surrounded by several old men. These old men were the Yao family elders, two of which were in the 8th level of mortal martial realm. Yao Hong was also at the 8th level of mortal martial realm. However, Xianxia was still just calmly standing there. A lot of people on the field quickly retreated, but around 300 or so did not move. Yao Hong calmly gazed over these 300 or so people. The true qi emanating from some of those people were not weak at all. These people were not pushovers. Chun Tianhu. Chun Furong recognized one of them and immediately shouted. When he saw several other experts from the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, his heart could not help but beat like crazy. Before, when he went back to the Qin family, he did not find such experts present. Traitor! Today is the day you die. Chun Tianhu took out a broadsword with a tiger head-shaped hilt while walking towards Xianxia's location. The Chun family had actually arrived at the Yao family entrance. No one expected this, and even more so that they would bring along with 300 people. Nonetheless, the Yao family experts were now feeling a lot of pressure, because the other side had 6 experts in 8th level of the mortal martial realm, while they only had 4. Mr. Chun, this... Yao Hong glanced at Chun Furong. Chun Furong was in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm and he was backing up the Yao family. This was why they dared to go to war with the Chen family. Leave it to me. Chun Furong sneered and immediately floated, flying towards Chun Tianhu. At this time, Chun Xiang suddenly disappeared from his location as he leapt fiercely up into the air, arriving in front of Chun Furong. Chun Xiang proceeded to roar, as a large amount of lightning and wind aura azure true qi surged out from his mouth, accompanied by a terrifying roar of an angry dragon. This aura drowned Chun Furong. Kill all the Chun family members. Leave no one alive, Yao Hong shouted. At this time, Chun Tianhu, along with his tiger head broadsword and 50 other strong Qin family members, rushed towards Yao Hong. Everyone slaughtered Qi sword as true Qi exploded from within their bodies. Watching their patriarch personally take action, every other Qin family member was reluctant to fall behind. Everyone madly roared, facing the sky and took out their broadswords. In front of thousands of Yao family members, all the Chun family members marched forward with a steady pace. The roar of 300 Qin family members resounded throughout King City. With each step, the entire field also shook. They were the elites of Chun family and were completely unafraid of death. They were selected to protect the Qin family, and they would never hesitate to defend their own family. 300 people against thousands. The Yao family had far more people. The distant crowd could not help but get roused and cheer for the Chen family from the side. Chun Xiang and Chen Furong fought, as the 300 Qin family members and thousands of Yao family members also start fighting. Both battles broke out at the same time, and various roars were mixed together. The entire battlefield was confusing and chaotic. Only an instant had passed after the battle started. Yet more than half of the bricks in entire field had already been destroyed. As long as Chen Furong was occupied with him, Chun Xiang was not worried about Chen Tianhu and others, because they were in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chun Furong, after suffering the azure dragon roar in the sky, had a dignified complexion. This was because he was absolutely sure that Chun Xiang's strength was at the 8th level of the mortal martial realm. Chun Xiang was only 16 years old, having lived in the regular world with very scarce resources, yet has still managed to reach such a level. Not to mention that he was also an alchemist. Chun Xiang, I have to admit you are very talented, but this is your matter, the Chun family's matter, and no longer has anything to do with me. I am only doing this to gain benefits in the sect. If I help the Yao family here, I'll obtain various advantages in the true martial sect. Therefore I must kill you. I already do not have any sense of belonging and I hate the Chun family. Chun Furong sternly shouted with a smile. Xianxia maintained total silence as he fused his internal 5 elements of true qi. Facing a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert, who came from a martial arts sect, he could only rely on the universal true qi to defeat this opponent. Everyone knew that people from the martial arts sets came to watch the King City martial art tournament to select a disciple. Those people were all at least in the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. This kind of strength in the Southern Martial Empire was extremely rare, and their level of strength was also very terrifying. At such a young age, Xianxia was going to face one of these experts. A lot of people were also looking forward to this, as Xianxia's strength was also unfathomable. Just a moment ago, he had killed a martial arts sect disciple who was in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm with a single punch. Humph! I did not expect the Chen family members to be such idiots. You are sending a mere brat to contain me. If it were those 6 experts in the 8th level of the mortal martial realm, then perhaps you would have had an opportunity to escape. But now you can only die along with them. The Chen family is finished. From Chen Furong's body, a red true qi emerged, covering his hands and feet as his eyes gradually reddened up. Seeing this, Xianxia retreated a few steps. For the first time, he was going to fight with a 9th level of the mortal martial realm expert. This was one of the strongest enemies he had ever faced. Sensing the level of true qi, Xianxia gradually became more and more dignified. The Yao family had a lot of people, but when compared to the Chen family's 6th level mortal martial realm experts and their 300 or so elites, their overall strength was weaker. The Yao family members were slowly losing their ground as they were forced inside the Yao family estate. But that strong giant door of the Yao family was blasted to smithereens by Chen Tianhu as the Chen family forced their way through. Meanwhile, the giant field outside had been turned into Xianxia and Chen Furong's personal battlefield. Chen Furong's hands and feet were wrapped in that red true qi. Moreover, a wild and savage breath could be sensed emanating from them. The red true qi covering both his hands slowly started to take shape, resembling a beast's. With 2 strong and thick arms with sharp claws, it looked very frightening. His legs were also the same. All his limbs were also wrapped in the red true qi, and surprisingly, all of them had been transformed into that of a beast's, which looked extremely tough. Waves of strong and fierce true qi flew towards Xianxia. Xianxia retreated a few steps while frowning. He looked at Chen Furong and noticed that both of his eyes had completely turned red, resembling that of a fierce wolf. Is this the true form of the 9th level of mortal martial realm? Xianxia said in his heart. The 9th level of mortal martial realm was the true form realm. Depending on the individual's cultivating exercise, a form was congealed from true qi in their dantian. Ordinarily, these can be divided into 2 common types. One is the bird or beast form, while the other was a weapon form. Of course, there are other types of forms, such as lotus, star, or lightning form. Every single one of these are determined according to their cultivation exercise. If the true qi congealed out a bird or beast form, then you could use the special power of that anima. If one congealed out a weapon, then they could form a very powerful weapon apparition. If at that time they were also using a weapon, then the weapon apparition and the one they were holding would fuse together, becoming even more powerful. Right in front of Xianxia, Chen Furong had actually congealed a wolf type from his true qi. Angry wolf fist. Chen Furong blasted a fist in air. Immediately after, the place where he stood was unable to withstand the sudden release of powerful and violent true qi. His feet formed 2 craters as he punched out. A red light also broke out. This red light burst open in blink of an eye into countless wolf heads with their jaws wide open, forming a makeshift wall as they closed in on Xianxia. These wolf heads created from true qi contained tyrannical force. Xianxia was sure if he was hit directly, he would still suffer heavily despite his powerful body. Xianxia sent out a shove of his hand and gathered the universal true qi from his dantian and released outwards. That qi aura cemented a wall which stood firmly in front of him. The universal true qi was created by fusing the 5 elements of true qi, yet it was colorless and invisible. It could be considered to be transparent, but people could still sense its peculiar vibe. The numerous wolf heads created from true qi came flying towards Xianxia, releasing waves after waves of qi. After the ground came in contact with the chi waves, it was blasted into many pieces. Those numerous true chi filled violent wolf heads struck the chi aura wall that was protecting Xianxia's body. The strength of both true chis were quite similar as their clash resulted in a thunderous roar. Due to the collision, a chi shockwave was created. It was similar to an undulated wave that spread all four directions. The bricks within the wide field shook along with the chi wave, which in turn were smashed into powder one after another. The original field, which was entirely covered with bricks, had now become an uneven ground of mud. In front of Xianxia, an even deeper crater had been formed. When Chen Furong saw that his initial attack failed to do anything, he immediately flew over. Those giant wolf-like legs of his treaded on the ground. Along his path, many small craters appeared. With each step he took, it shook the ground along with thunderous sounds. It was as if a giant angry elephant was madly rushing through the field. Chen Furong was shocked by the fact that Xianxia was capable of even releasing a bizarre and powerful true chi that could even withstand such an attack. But Chen Furong still believed that no matter what happened, Xianxia was still just an 8th level of mortal martial realm teenager. Whether it was Xianxia's combat experience or how vibrant his true chi was, neither of those could even be compared with Chen Furong's. He was completely confident in his victory. Arrogant little brat. Today I'll send you off to heaven. Chen Furong grinned ferociously as he fiercely jumped out. Both of his legs stuck close together as they emitted a red light. Quick as lightning, he diagonally slammed down from high above. You're just a wolf. Nothing more than a mangy mutt. What's so impressive about that? Xianxia sneered. Watching Chen Furong falling down from the sky, the universal true chi gathered around Xianxia's fists as he simultaneously released slaughter chi. He punched out his fists lightning fast. As his attack cut through the air, a thunderous tiger roar resounded. White Tiger Divine Fist. Xianxia welcomed Chen Furong's slam attack, which was similar to an immense mountain falling down. As the attack ended, Xianxia's fist struck on the dead center of Chen Furong's soles. Suddenly, a tiger's roar soared into the sky. As the chi waves swept forth in all directions, the sand was blown away from the blast, and a few cracks could also be seen on the ground. Chen Furong thought that his attack would simply destroy all of Xianxia's defense and plunge him into a dead end. Who could have thought that in a blink of an eye, Chen Furong's foot would suddenly be struck by an immense and unfathomable amount of force that smashed into his whole thigh. His leg had already been utterly decimated under Xianxia's White Tiger Divine Fist. The entire crowd was horrified, and to their shock, Chen Furong's leg appeared withered as if all its vital essence had been extracted. This was White Tiger Divine Fist's formidability. This was also the first time Xianxia had used this skill. After using it, not only did a frightening power burst out, but it released an seemingly endless amount of slaughter chi, engulfing all of the vitality from the opposite party. Old mutt. This is the consequence of underestimating an enemy, Xianxia coldly said before he suddenly appeared right in front of Chen Furong. Chen Furong felt a mix of surprise, anger and hate, all at the same time. He still did not know what type of true chi Xianxia had used just a moment ago. Chen Furong had never seen or even heard of such a thing. This true chi appeared to be without any attribute similar to a physical force, yet at the same time it wasn't. Do not be complacent. Now you're also burned out. Chen Furong blasted his fist, countering Xianxia's blow. He believed that Xianxia had completely exhausted his true chi for that attack from just a moment ago. After all, Xianxia was only at 8th level of mortal martial realm, and his true chi was bound to not be as vigorous as Chen Furong's. But Chen Furong was completely, horribly wrong. His fist rumbled as he punched out, but Xianxia just counterattacked Chen Furong with yet another White Tiger Divine Fist, and just like before, a tiger roar could be heard again as an immense power burst out and surged into Chen Furong's arm, completely destroying it. You? Due to the impact force, Chen Furong flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. He had not only lost a leg and an arm, but also, just a moment ago, Xianxia had violently shook Chun Forong's 5 zhong and 6 fu with the help of White Tiger Divine Fist.